seek God, and to God I would commit my cause. Who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without numbers. He gives rain on the earth and sends water on the fields. He sets on high those who are lowly, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He frustrates the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot carry out their plans. He catches the wise in their craftiness, and the counsel upon the cunning comes quickly upon them. We'll conclude our reading at this point. This is the book of Job, chapter 5, verse 13. You've been listening to a serialized reading of the Bible, the New King James Version, with episodes presented every morning at 8:15 on the Niagara Frontier.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Dave, and for the next half hour, I'll be reading from the July 28th issue of the Challenger Community News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Henderson is sworn in as the new North District representative for the Buffalo School Board. In the most recent development in the Buffalo Public Schools drama, Roscoe C. Henderson has been nominated and sworn in to fill the North District School Board vacancy. Henderson was sworn in at a special meeting on Wednesday, July 22nd. He is a retired Buffalo police investigator who resides in the North District. He received the required 5 votes to be confirmed. He will be completing the 2.5 years remaining in Cindy McEachin's term. However, he said he will not seek re-election when that term is up. Ms. McEachin, former North District representative, resigned from her seat June 24th over what she said was frustrations with board governance and lack of transparency. Those school board members voting in favor of Henderson included Stefan Wright, Kathy Evans Brown, Janita Everhart, Talia Rodriguez, and Louis Mookie Hawkins. Those members abstaining from the vote included Larry Scott, Adriana Zulik, and Eric Bowen. There's a sexual harassment bombshell. Meanwhile, the disturbing sexual harassment claims which arise from documented and unwanted sexual advances directed at the district's Chief Equity and Governance Officer, Ms. Antoinette Amos, by the now resigned superintendent, and by Central District School Board member Mookie Hawkins, went unheeded. Hawkins maintains his innocence and has refused to step down. Mayor Ryan has argued that Hawkins should recuse himself from all activity on the board during the investigation into the sexual harassment allegations. The board has reportedly known about the complaints since early June, but the district failed to protect her. In Ms. Amos' own words, "I have learned that sometimes the most important thing a woman can do is refuse to be silent. If that means getting into good trouble, then I hope my voice encourages other women and girls to believe that their dignity is worth defending and their boundaries deserve to be respected." The Forrestal law firm out of New York City, together with local coal counsel John V. Elmore, P.C., recently the filing of a notice of claim against the Board of Education of the Buffalo School District and its former superintendent of schools, Dr. Pascal Mubenga, for sexual harassment and abuse of authority in violation of the New York civil rights law. Attorney Forrestal, lead counsel for the Forrestal law firm, said, "The evidence establishes a pattern and practice of sexual harassment towards women that has existed within the agency far too long, and we intend to bring this to light and help put an end to it." Co-counsel, local attorney John V. Elmore, Esquire, further stated, "The behavior of the former superintendent and current board member was a violation of public trust. We are committed to protecting the rights of Ms. Amos. This litigation ensures that all employees of the school district have a safe work environment that is free from harassment. The following is a letter from the president of the Buffalo Board of Education claiming Board of Education defied advice by Commissioner of Education to leave the North District seat vacant is inaccurate. Dear Editor, I want to express recent public statements suggesting that the Buffalo Board of Education acted in defiance of correspondence from the New York State Commissioner of Education regarding the appointment process for the vacant North District Board seat. That characterization is simply inaccurate. Consistent with Section 2553 of the Education Law requires the board to fill the vacancy. Such vacancy shall be filled by a majority vote of the remaining members of the Board of Education within 30 days of the date when such vacancy shall have occurred. The Board of Education began its appointment process well before the mayor's July 19, 2026 letter to the commissioner calling for the department to prevent the board from filling the vacancy. The first notice of vacancy for application went out in the Buffalo News for the public on June 30th, 2026, and closed on July 13th, 2026, and 6 qualified individuals submitted applications for consideration. In keeping with our commitment to openness and public accountability, all candidate interviews were scheduled to be conducted in a public meeting and televised for the community to observe on July 20th, 2026, beginning at 9 a.m. in the boardroom of City Hall. The board did not receive correspondence from the commissioner on this matter until 1 p.m. on July 20th, 2026, after the interview process was already underway. Following receipt of the Commissioner's correspondence, I spoke directly with the Commissioner of Education regarding the circumstances facing Buffalo Public Schools. Our discussion included the significant leadership challenges currently confronting the district, including the recent resignation of the superintendent, allegations against a sitting board member, and the need to maintain stable governance during this period of transition. Following my conversation with the commissioner, I understood that the board could proceed with its established process and its legal responsibility to fill the vacancy. Accordingly, the board continued the process that had already been initiated to fulfill its responsibility to ensure that the residents of the North District had full representation on the Board of Education. I also note that if the board failed to comply with its legal responsibility to fill the vacancy by July 24th, 2026, the education law would have authorized the mayor to do so. The Board of Education is a nonpartisan body composed of independently elected officials. Our responsibility is to exercise our independent judgment while complying with New York State law and acting in the best interests of the students and the families we serve. At no time did the board act with the intent to disregard or defy the Commissioner of Education. Rather, we acted in good faith, consistent with our legal responsibilities, our commitment to transparency, and our obligation to ensure that every district is represented by a full complement of elected leadership. Our focus remains where it belongs, providing stable governance, restoring public confidence, and ensuring that the Buffalo Public Schools continue moving forward during a challenging time. We are all professionals, states Dr. Kathy Evans Brown, President of the Board of Buffalo Education. Pan-Africanism is the theme of annual Garvey Day celebration. This year marks the 139th anniversary of the birth of the immortal African, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the man whose legacy has had an incalculable positive impact on the lives of people of African descent throughout the world. His organization, the United Negro Improvement Association and African Community Leagues, is unprecedented in history. At its height, it boasted 6 million members worldwide and remains the standard of the breadth and scope of what our organizations can become. The teaching and practices of Marcus Garvey and the UNIA offer many solutions to the problems facing African people at home and in the diaspora. 4 principles championed by Marcus Garvey guide our organization and this community tribute, namely love of self, unity of the African people, do for self, and the need for organization. Our annual Garvey Day celebration will be held on Saturday, August 15th, 2026, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Martha Mitchell Community Center, located at 175 Oakmont in the Kenfield-Langfield Buffalo Municipal Housing Complex. This year's theme is Pan-Africanism is the greatest threat to world imperialism. Activities will include the annual Garvey Day March, youth and adult workshops, children and family activities, live entertainment, rally and cultural show, African marketplace, artistic displays, food, refreshments, and more. This is a free event. The Marcus Garvey / Malcolm X Day Organizing Committee is seeking community support and assistance for the annual celebration of the birth, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Specifically, we are requesting your participation and or support for this community-wide event by participating in the march, solidarity messages from your organization, cultural performance, monetary and material donations, vending, or purchasing an ad in the program journal. Thank you for your time and consideration of the above request. To confirm your participation and or support, for more information, please contact us at 716-335-8962 or 716-400-8644 or via email at kmitflix@gmail.com. The Marcus Garvey Malcolm X Day Organizing Committee. Trump, white farmers, and the war on Zimbabwe's sovereignty. Why Africans must reject this neo-colonial push. White farmers appealed to Donald Trump to recoup $3.5 billion from the Zimbabwean government. The push by white farmers to enlist Donald Trump in compensation battle for Zimbabwean land is a brazen neo-colonial plot to undo African liberation history. Originally published in the Pan-Africanist, the push by a small group of white farmers in Zimbabwe a few months ago to drag Donald Trump and the United States government into a fight over land compensation is not just a betrayal of Zimbabwe's revolution, it is a fresh front in an ongoing war to reverse Africa's emancipation from colonial domination. Reports emerged that a faction of white former farmers has hired a U.S. lobbying firm with deep ties to Trump's circle, asking the American president and his Republican allies to pressure Harare into paying billions of dollars in compensation for land seized decades ago under the country's land reform program. Let there be no mistake, this is not about fairness or justice. This is about power, about imperial interference, and about rewriting history to serve the powerful few. Zimbabwe's land reform, begun in the late 1990s and early 2000s, was a radical and necessary corrective to colonial theft. For nearly a century before independence, a white minority dominated the fertile agricultural heartlands of Zimbabwe, while the majority black population was relegated to crowded reserves and marginal lands. This was not an accident. It was the design of colonial conquest and racial capitalism. Redistributing the land to black Zimbabweans was not only just, but it was essential for dignity, self-determination, and economic independence. Yet now, more than 2 decades later, a clique of former landowners is trying to internationalize what was a sovereign African decision. They have turned to Mercury Public Affairs, a U.S. lobbying firm, to persuade Trump's allies in Washington to intervene in Zimbabwe's internal affairs. Their argument is simple. They want billions of dollars in compensation for land that was taken from them. This push is deeply flawed on both moral and political grounds. First, it ignores the most important fact. These farmers held land that was stolen from the African majority through colonial violence and legal imposition. The land redistribution was not a whim. It was a reckoning with centuries of theft. To demand that an African nation pay huge sums on behalf of a tiny, historically privileged minority is to ignore the blood, sweat, and struggle of millions displaced and oppressed by colonial rule. Second, the compensation campaign is being framed through the lens of Western politics, particularly through the truncated narratives of U.S. Republican rhetoric about white farmer genocide in southern Africa, a claim that has been widely debunked and exposed as an extremist fantasy. Trump and his circle have repeatedly amplified similar claims about South Africa, and now they are seeking to cast Zimbabwe in the same light. We see the danger of allowing Western geopolitical agendas to infiltrate African policy issues. This is not assistance, it is interference. It is the old colonial project in new clothes, using financial leverage and political pressure to bend Southern African choices to West interest. Third, with the question of improvements on the land remains contested that the government has indeed budgeted sums to pay for infrastructure losses, the larger question of returning stolen land and the attendant wealth created from it remains a historical debt owed by the colonial powers and their settler elites to the African majority. It suggests that the rights of a minority settler class outweigh the collective rights of the individual majority whose lands were stolen. This is not justice. This is a replay of colonial logic. But no international legal technicality should be allowed to override the core principles that African nations have the right to determine how they manage their land reform, and economic priorities without foreign interference. Let's also be clear, Zimbabwe's land reform was not perfect. Implementation was sometimes flawed, and challenges remain in commercial agricultural productivity and rural development. This moment calls for unity, not capitulation. Land reform in Zimbabwe was part of a broader African liberation project that sought to dismantle the economic foundations of colonialism across the continent, from Ghana to Guinea, from Namibia to Mozambique. To allow a return to colonial claims through U.S. political pressure is to undermine the very gains that African revolutionaries fought for. It is a reminder that the battle for genuine decolonization, economic, political, and psychological, is far from over. In Zimbabwe's land belongs to those who reside on it, work it, and whose ancestors were dispossessed by colonial conquest. Seeking compensation from the Zimbabwe state under the influence of an external imperial power is not only unjust, it is an affront to Africans' liberation struggle. Africa must reject these neo-colonial overtures and reaffirm that land reform was and remains a legitimate and necessary correction of historical wrongs. Zimbabwe's land reform is not negotiable. Its sovereignty is not for sale, and its liberation history must not be rewritten to serve outsiders. Rejecting this compensation campaign is not only a defense of Zimbabwe, but it is a defense of the African Revolution itself. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Challenger Community News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Here is some sports news. Push-up king Jeffrey Warwick sets new record. Western New York's own Jeffrey Warwick, internationally recognized push-up king, recently made history when he broke the world record for most push-ups completed in 1 hour on July 4th, 2026. It all took place at the Dr. Bennett W. Smith Family Life Center on Michigan Avenue, where Warwick performed an amazing 1,500 push-ups in 60 minutes before a host of spectators and supporters. His most recent challenge was sponsored by the Buffalo Black Billion, an organization committed to supporting community achievement and excellence. Warwick feels it was especially symbolic as it commemorated on the year 1776, when the United States declared its independence. This is more than a world record attempt, organizers said. It is a celebration of perseverance, discipline, physical fitness, and the spirit of independence. Jeffrey, born in Lackawanna, New York, and educated at Kensington High School, is an accomplished martial artist and athlete who currently holds multiple Guinness World Records in various push-up categories, including the remarkable 24-hour push-up record of 46,400 push-ups. He also holds the world record for consecutive one-arm, one-finger push-ups, completing an astonishing 130 repetitions. It all began in 1982 when Jeffrey Warwick beat the Guinness Book of World Records for push-ups at the 6th annual Juneteenth Festival. Warwick performed 9,124 push-ups in 3 hours and 22 minutes, beating Englishman Tom Gilbert's record setting of 9,105. He was sponsored by the North Fillmore Businessmen's Association, and his record-breaking feat, captured by Challenger photographer and community ambassador Brother Simba, made the front page of the June 23, 1982 Challenger. As one of the world's most accomplished push-up athletes, the record holder continues to push the boundaries of human endurance while inspiring others to pursue greatness through the dedication and hard work. Roswell Park announces a new name and funding outreach center. After only 3 years, the Roswell Park Community Outreach and Engagement Center at 907 Michigan Avenue is ready to expand. Thanks to a $3 million contribution from New York State Senator April Baskin and outgoing Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, and a $1 million contribution from the Broadview Federal Credit Union, Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center will break ground on a new wing this fall. The center will be known as the Roswell Park Broadview Community Outreach and Engagement Center and is anticipated to open in 2027. The first 3 years of the center welcomed more than 18,000 visitors and hosted 1,000 events, many of which were organized by community groups. Serving as a hub for programs and services designed to advance and improve health outcomes in underserved communities, the center, originally a historic 1878 home in the Fruit Belt, offers cancer awareness initiatives, educational program, navigation to cancer screenings, financial wellness programming, and a gathering space for community meetings and events. This space serves as a welcoming home for outreach and engagement efforts across Western New York, and Broadview Credit Union's generosity will help ensure these important programs continue to grow and serve families for years to come, said Roswell Park President and CEO Dr. Candace Johnson. The work of Roswell Park's community outreach and engagement teams is changing and saving the lives, said Roswell Park Senior Vice President and Associate Director of Community Outreach and Engagement, Dr. Elizabeth Bouchard. Tens of thousands of community members have been reached through our efforts focusing on higher risk and underserved populations. Our physical presence at 907 Michigan Avenue has helped expand that impact by creating a trusted, accessible space right in the heart of the community. From the moment I visited the Community Outreach and Engagement Center for its grand opening, I was deeply moved by the thought, care, and purpose behind this space, said Senator Baskin. I am proud to provide this investment to strengthen the center's impact in Buffalo's Fruit Belt, ensuring that historically marginalized residents have access to life-saving cancer prevention, education, and support services they deserve. Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center continues to make good on their promise to serve the community better. Majority Leader Paples-Stokes said, "The breadth of services provided is remarkable, and we as residents of Western New York are truly blessed to have a place like Roswell Park in our community." At Broadview, we believe our role goes beyond financial service. This investment in the Roswell Park Broadview Community Outreach and Engagement Center reflects the kind of meaningful, local, people-focused impact Broadview is committed to making in Buffalo and across Western New York, said Broadview CEO Michael Castellana. We are proud to partner with Roswell Park in support of a center that connects individuals and families to education, support, and care in what was that can truly change life. Buffalo is a region of tremendous strength and promise, and Broadview is honored to invest in its future. The Roswell Park Broadview Community Outreach and Engagement Center is located at 907 Michigan Avenue in Buffalo and continues to serve as a welcoming space for education, outreach, and community connection. This is under real estate. Baby boomers, what's your next move? For many baby boomers, home ownership has long symbolized stability, success, and the American dream. After decades of raising families, maintaining properties, and building memories, many are now asking a different question: what's next? Across Western New York and beyond, baby boomers are rethinking what home means in the next chapter of life. While many still cherish the homes where they raise their children, the reality is that maintaining a large property can become physically, emotionally, and financially demanding. Weekend chores that once felt manageable, mowing the lawn, shoveling snow, cleaning gutters, or climbing ladders for repairs, can become overwhelming over time. At the same time, many boomers have gained significant equity in their homes. Rather than viewing their house as simply a place to live, they're recognizing it as one of their greatest financial assets. This shift has led many homeowners to consider how their real estate can help create generational wealth for their children and grandchildren. One growing trend is right-sizing. Unlike downsizing, right-sizing isn't about settling for less. It's about choosing a home that better fits your current lifestyle. Some homeowners are moving into smaller, low-maintenance homes or condominiums that eliminate exterior upkeep while still providing comfort and convenience. Others are choosing ranch-style homes with first-floor living, making it easier to age in place safely. Health and safety also play a major role in these decisions. Multi-story homes with steep staircases, large yards requiring constant maintenance, aging mechanical systems can present challenges as homeowners get older. Moving before these concerns become emergencies allows families to make thoughtful decisions rather than rushed ones. Some baby boomers are choosing to stay put by investing in home upgrades such as walk-in showers, wider doorways, improved lighting, and accessibility features that allow them to remain safely in the homes they love. Others are moving closer to children and grandchildren, while some are embracing active adult communities that offer social opportunities and maintenance-free living. Another option gaining popularity is selling a larger home and using a portion of the proceeds to purchase a smaller residence while investing the remaining equity. This strategy can strengthen retirement savings, reduce monthly expenses, or provide financial assistance to the next generation of college, homeownership, and other life milestones. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. One thing I'd like to remind readers is that every homeowner's goals, finances, and family situations are different. The important thing is to begin planning early and understand the options available before a major life event forces a quick decision. Whether your goal is to make your lifestyle simple, creating a lasting financial legacy, or finding a home that better supports your future, now is an excellent time to start the conversation, not only with your family, but a financial team. After all, the next move isn't just about buying or selling a house, it's about creating a legacy within general wealth. This article was by Tamika Murphy from MMB Realty Group. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the July 24th issue of the Challenger Community News. We read from the Challenger Community News every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Your reader has been Dave. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Batavia Daily News. Following that at 10 o'clock is the East Aurora Advertiser, and at 11 we have the Niagara Gazette. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings of printed matter to our listeners who are blind or have a print disability throughout Western New York and Southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Pat Connolly, and for the next hour I'll be reading from various issues of the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And let's start with the today's Thursday, July 30th issue of the Daily News Online. From the front page, several long articles. I will abbreviate them. Let's start with the Data Center discussion. Data Center discussion, Holkel leads moratorium roundtable by Sal